chicken or whatever.
Sorry, I just realized I never clicked record before.
Oh,
So
that's okay.
um,
So what do you do? What do you recommend?
I definitely, for the past 30 years of healthy eating, got really used to there not being any packaged snacks. So I definitely ate all real food for a very long time. And
Hmm.
now I was just at picture like 15 Whole Foods, maybe even like 40 Whole Foods. I was at a convention with that big of a facility with all packaged foods and products that are healthy or
Hmm.
supposedly say they're healthy. And so
Hmm.
I find the best ones, and those are the ones that I eat, and those are the ones that are on my snack lists. So
Okay.
absolutely. And I shop at Thrive Market. It's Thrive. If you go to thrivemarket.com/Julie E Health, you'll see a lot of my favorites. Uh,
Hmm.
Thrive Market is only online and they deliver to your front doorstep. So I don't know why anyone would not be a member because it's also less expensive than at the store. So you
Hmm.
can see a list and everything there is pantry stuff. It's whatever goes in the closet, which is usually packaged, right? It says if it goes in
Hmm.
the fridge. So I'm packing for a trip for the week. I'm going out of town for spring break with my child, not party spring break, like serene spring
Right.
break. But so usually when I travel like that, one half of my suitcase is snacks, vitamins, nutrients, or like this time I'm packing some mud therapy as well because we're going to mud him. And so what did I pack so far? I pack a combination of goji berries with cacao and sprouted raw pumpkin seeds. That's in one Ziploc. And now I try to not use the plastic Ziplocs. There's the plant-based ones and there's
Hmm.
Stasher that makes reusable silicone stuff. So that's one is goji berries, cacao nibs, and sprouted raw pumpkin seeds. And all three of those I buy on Thrive. So that's like to get superfoods in and antioxidants and
Hmm.
magnesium and endorphin enhancing stuff. Then separately, I packed some walnuts, sprouted organic raw walnuts. I packed a handful of Brazil nuts because if you haven't heard, 2 Brazil nuts have the perfect amount of selenium to help your thyroid and hormones, as for
Hmm.
anybody, man, woman, I guess
Yeah,
child.
I eat 3 a day. Is that okay to do 3?
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also pack a Mama Chia squeeze pack. I really wish I figured out how to share my screen and got advice on this. Let me see if I can do this because then you can see the pictures. Oh wait, let's see if I did it. Nope, I don't know what I'm doing. I am really good at curing cancer and terrible at figuring out how to share a screen. So I will work on that for the next class, but you can look at if you look at the free
Okay.
download site, well, you're on a phone now, right? Or are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. Yeah.
Okay. So on the snack list, I have Mama Chia. I didn't even bring it with me. It's in the car, but it's a little squeeze pack. It's like a little bit of like fruit juice with chia seeds. So I have one of those almost
Oh,
every
nice.
day. Brain food, chia, we can't get enough omega-3s, anti-inflammatory and for the brain. So I have one of those almost every day on my trip and
Hmm.
and even at home. And my son usually eats at least one a day. And then I also packed some of the bars that we sell at our clinic. We have organic food bars, which are alkaline pH forming and
Hmm.
they're raw. They have the whole list of all the good stuff or don't have any of the bad stuff. And they're chocolate chip. And then I packed a couple of Papa Steve's bar, which both of those are organic, raw, da 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 da. And I don't think they're on
And
our
where do you get them?
they the Papa Steve's is local here in Venice, California, and I don't think they're widely distributed outside of this area, but they're in the refrigerated section at the stores here.
Okay.
Organic Food Bar has been around for 20 years. It's one of my favorites. They're having serious problems with whatever the COVID war stuff is, the supply chain.
Hmm.
So, but normally they would be in the bar section of your Whole Foods, that ridiculously long aisle. And I used to be a fan of the bulletproof bars. The consistency changed. They're not as great. My son will sometimes eat a Nugo bar, Nugo. Um,
Hmm.
I found a bar called the Bear Bar at this trade show. There, I always have Hail Mary snacks in stock, and I will usually take some of those when I travel. They make
Okay.
the old you know, in the Jewish world, we have macaroons when around Passover, but these put those to shame. They're like little balls made out of, I mean, the chocolate chip cookie dough is like to die for, basically. They're so
Mhm.
good. And it's like cacao and coconut oil, like with a splash of syrup, like maple syrup in it. And they're so good.
Okay.
And it's so two of those could be a breakfast, two of those can be a snack. I mean, they're only 40 calories and they're high in
Mhm.
fat, but healthy fat. And so, yeah, let me think of what else is in our closet. We do a little bit of like dried organic mango. And, you know, as far as chips go, I wish I didn't eat any, and I don't most of the time, but there are so many healthy ones. So
Mhm.
Beanfields makes tortilla chips in about 15 different flavors. They're made out of beans, and there's 6 grams of protein in them and almost no carbs. So
Wow.
those are, you just have to eat them because you take them to
Mhm.
parties so that way there are chips at a party that you want to eat.
Mhm.
Siete is Siete. That's a family company, and all of their chips. And now they have like a cheddar cheese dip made out of cashew, and all their stuff is amazing. They have the tortilla flours made out of cassava and almond. So I do keep all that stuff in my house because there's always a day where you just want something a little bit different or,
Mhm.
you know, unique. Um,
Yeah. Now, do you eat bread, like gluten-free bread?
The only bread that I really eat is the Ezekiel bread.
Okay. Yeah.
My son likes, we would do the cinnamon raisin. He makes avocado toast on top of it. I don't know how he got
Okay.
creative with eating some of the weird foods I make him eat, but that raisin, it's a little heavier though, but it's also
Mhm.
everything in it is sprouted, so it's not gluten. Um, I might have like a couple of bites of a bread if it looks absolutely phenomenal at a restaurant. But it's a great question because the way I want to answer it is it comes down to what I call your today body. So if your today body is, I'm happy, I'm relaxed, I had a good enough amount of sleep, I pooped, I feel good, I'm on vacation, then your nervous system is calm and your cortisol is balanced. If you have a little bit of something you don't traditionally eat, you're not going to have a reaction to it. And if you do, you'll
Right.
know instantly, and then you'll go, I probably shouldn't eat that. But
Mhm.
you have to be happy and you have to be okay with eating some things that, you know, don't make your body perfect. You just have to
Right.
place them in the right places. So think you have a checkbook and you know how to balance it. So you do, I'm not a fan of eat really well 6 days and go crazy on the seventh. I think that's stupid and it throws off your metabolism and your mojo, and it gets you brainwashed like, oh, let me do good now to eat like crap this weekend. That's silly. But if my today body is off and I'm gassy or bloated or I have a headache or I didn't sleep well or I'm under stress and I have a deadline or a pressure, I'm not going to eat
Mhm.
stuff because it's going to throw me out of balance. Like if you're staying in
Okay.
balance and if you're then a little bit, you can get back to balance. But if you're already like this, then you eat like crap, it's like harder to get back on track. So
Mhm.
there a long time ago in my book, the first book I published, there one of the breads that I put in there is called Julian's Bakery. It's like my name with an A and an N at the end, and it's like a paleo bread, and they sold it in like this round thing, and you make your own slices, and it was so thick and dense, and absolutely no gluten in it, and none of the bad grains, and it was
Mhm.
phenomenal. And now they don't make it like that anymore. They make it a little sliced, and it's a little different, and I don't need it, so I don't eat it. I have
Mhm.
coconut coconut meat tortillas that are so good that I keep in the house. But you know, I keep these things around, and personally, I eat them at most like once or twice a month, and I may not even eat them for months because if I have energy and time and I want to cook, great. But I've just
Mhm.
been on for like 4 months that making a salad is more than enough for me. So I don't need to go, you know, if I was, let me rephrase that. If it's, if I'm gonna sit and cook these fancy meals, I'm definitely not gonna make any of those bread things part of the meal.
Right.
And I have a garden, I grow my own food, so I could go chop the stuff and throw a salad together. And I'll
Mhm.
use nuts as my crunch. and the nutrition flakes, the pink salt, the EFA oil, that's really enough for me. But I have a kid, a teenager that's growing and starving. So I do have to have some of these things in the house. And sometimes
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, let me have a bite of that. Or sometimes I decide I just want something different. So the Violite makes a couple of cheeses, which are absolutely incredibly delicious. They have a cream cheese, a shredded cheese, a sliced cheese, and one that's like the white one, like feta cheese. They're all made out of coconut, but there's like a little bit of preservative types of things in all of them, right? To make them into
Mhm.
a cheese thing. So I wouldn't say eat them like they're going out of style, but a couple of weeks ago I had like I had a cheese sandwich with the coconut tortilla, the coconut meat tortilla. There's no other ingredients. I don't know how they do it. It's so good. And
Mhm.
with the cheese and some pink salt, and I threw a little lettuce in there. And I was like, just wanted something different, but at least it's
Mhm.
healthier than others. But personally, I don't binge and dive into junk food. If I'm going to eat a junk food thing, I'm going to do it consciously and say, well, that dessert looks worthwhile. I'm going to taste that. I don't
Okay.
really binge on bread. If you haven't seen the HU, their crackers and their chocolate is like out of this world. I don't know how they do it.
Mhm.
The crackers have no grains in them. And I was reading the label with a client yesterday. I think it's like 15 crackers is 130 calories, and there's almost no carbs in there. So
Okay.
that's like 100, a snack is 200 calories. So 100 and to eat 15 crackers and only get like half of that is like kind of amazing. I don't know anyone
Mhm.
that's going to really, that's not true. Rephrase. No one needs to eat 30 crackers. You need a few because you just want to have a crunch. Like we have to
Mhm.
have the different consistencies and the different flavors to feel satiated and satisfied. Um, and the chapter 2 or 3 in my book, I think, is exactly like that. Like when I have like the menus and the recipes, it's like this dish is crunchy, spicy, sweet, mushy, chewy, cold, a one dish meal. Like think about your foods that way. And if you eat some carbohydrate, like you have rice or quinoa or buckwheat some of the time, you're not going to feel depleted and starving for carbs. You're not going to feel like I haven't had any forever and now I'm going to go crazy.
Mhm.
So put a couple of tablespoons of rice in your salad or in a vegetable dish, or have just a little bit, you know,
Is
with
that like the same with potatoes too?
potatoes are grounding. Like, so sweet potatoes we need. There's so much
Mhm.
vitamin C and vitamin A in a sweet potato. Like we need that badly.
Okay.
And they also have, I think, quercetin in them. And so, they treat certain viruses that you're not allowed to treat. So sweet
Mhm.
potatoes are awesome, but the the nightshades are bell peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, and potatoes. And
Mhm.
nightshades have this stigma. They're just, and some people will include goji berries in there, but I'm not going to because they have too many other health properties that we need, and they're different. But nightshades, if your immune system is weak, nightshades might make you weaker. So we don't want to go crazy on those, but
Mhm.
potatoes are grounding. And so sometimes we need them and it helps us feel grounded. If you just eat like lettuce and vegetables all day, like you need something hearty to root.
Mhm.
We call it vata. Vata properties are like air. If you just eat air all day long, like you're not going to feel rooted and stable. You're going to be like floaty. And when you're air, I could blow on you and knock you over. So we don't really
Mhm.
need to become air. We do, if you eat all vegetables, I would say you definitely need to eat like some nuts and seeds and put in something with like a little crunch or a little satiety in it. And that's why I say like a tablespoon or a couple of tablespoons of, if other people in the family are eating, kids or your spouse or visitors are eating like rice or potatoes, like you don't have to eat like a whole bowl of it, but you can have a little bit of it and
Now you're
feel
saying brown rice, not white rice, just
well.
brown.
That question is open for discussion or debate because more than 60% of the world lives on white rice. And most of the people that live on white rice are thin.
Mhm.
So you know, I had an argument with another dietitian and we went head to head on it. And we came up with white rice being almost as healthy as brown rice. So,
Okay.
you know, you can, it's preference really.
Hmm.
But if you're getting white rice from a Chinese restaurant, you want to make sure it doesn't have like sugar in it. You know, in sushi, they
Right.
add sugar. So that's different. So,
Hmm.
you know, it's the quality. If you're getting a good basmati or long grain rice, you're, you know, a little bit of it is actually going to be good for you, especially after exercise, especially when you're super busy and you've been on go. It like might help ground you. But
Hmm.
and if you're going to run a marathon or be super active or go skiing or something, or water skiing, even like you, we need carbohydrates. Like the Zone is a diet plan or theory, I guess, that came out in the 90s. And that was 40, 30, 30. And that's 40% protein, 30% carbs, and 30, I'm sorry, 40% carbs, 30%
Hmm.
protein, and 30% fat. And so if you even look at that, which is really restrictive, it's still 40% of the diet from carbohydrates. So some of
Okay.
that's coming from fruit and vegetables. They do have some carbs in it, but it's not illegal or bad for you to have carbohydrates. It's really all about your blood sugar. And
Hmm.
there is actually, I think chapter 5 in my book is all about carbohydrates. And there is a graph in there about blood sugar. And I have updated it and it's really fantastic. And if I could share
Hmm.
a screen with you today, I would explain it. So maybe I'll save it for the
Okay.
next call, because if you balance your blood sugar out, number one, you balance out your hormones. Number two, you balance out whether you're burning stored fat to make energy or you're storing new fat. And
Hmm.
number three, you're balancing out your cortisol. So your stress response, it will, so we kind of want to live in like a zone where our energy and our digestion are like a teeny little like ocean waves. But if you eat processed carbs and in high doses, your blood sugar goes like up, and what
Hmm.
goes up comes down, and then you have this erratic thing throughout the day. But if you eat, if you know, if this is neutral and you eat so that your blood sugar rises a little bit, as you start to digest, follow my fingers, not my top elbow, as you're about to break through the line, you eat again and you stay stable. It's when you go up and then you drop down, and then you go up and then you drop down, because you're binging, craving, trying to be good. I'm not going to eat.
Hmm.
And then your body's just out of whack. That's when we have issues. But
Okay.
eating the right kind of carbohydrates, is the right carbohydrates at the right time in the right quantities, is what it comes down to with carbohydrates, and even processed food. So in the blood sugar lesson, I talk about a food label and going over that.
Hmm.
I can tell you just a little bit. It goes back to, you know, everything is about being in balance. So I picture like a seesaw or a triple beam balance scale. And on one side, we put carbs, and on the other side, we put protein, fat, and fiber. And you don't have to put
Okay.
you don't have to put preservatives and chemicals and stuff in there, because first of all, I don't eat things with chemicals for the most part, unless I'm
Hmm.
like at a party and there's a baked good, there's chemicals in there, right? So, but generally speaking, it's not
Right.
to eat. And if you eat something really processed, it's going to tip the scale in the carbohydrate direction anyway. But so if you're planning out your meal, and I work one-on-one with people to do this, like if you don't really want to tip the scale too far at breakfast, but let's say your breakfast was oatmeal, which a lot of people just love. Oatmeal is higher in carbs than it is in anything else, but it also has a little, so, you know, we would tip the scale in the carbohydrate direction. Let's say there's like 25 grams of carbs in your oatmeal. And this is by looking at your food.
Hmm.
But it also has 6 grams of protein and a couple of grams of fat. And if you add flaxseed meal or oil or nuts and seeds to it, your oatmeal can end up being neutral. So when you eat
Hmm.
neutral, the next time you eat, if you tip the scale and you have, let's say, fruit, just the next time you eat, come back by, so carb,
Okay.
protein, fat, or fiber. If you have fruit and then at the next meal you want to have like a half a sandwich or pasta or rice or something like that, or potatoes, you're just like getting further and further away from balance, and it's just that much
Hmm.
harder to come back. And visually speaking, what that is if this is neutral, you're making your blood sugar start to go like this, and then it's going to go like this. And when you're below this line, you're tired, starving, cranky, give me food now, or I will kill you. I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. And you're also storing fat. When
Okay.
you're between this and this range, like in terms of your blood sugar and your digestion, you're burning stored fat to make energy. And when you eat and your body makes energy, you make 36 units. And when you burn stored fat, you make 136. So we want to
Okay.
burn stored fat to make energy. And that's kind of what it comes down to it's more about the carbohydrates, but if you ate like an entire stick of butter, which is fat, or an entire steak, which is mostly fat and protein, you still might store a little because your body you don't need 20 ounces.
Right. Yeah.
The palm of your hand, like, so forget about my fingers. The palm and thickness of your hand is like how much protein you eat. So mine is pretty close to 4 ounces. If I'm
Hmm.
eating fish, like a plain fillet of fish, you can go to your fingertips. So that way you
Okay.
can eat a little bit more. And this isn't exactly true for teenagers and younger people and burn victims and elite athletes or people running marathons. But for the average adult who's like a weekend warrior type of exerciser, and these days who sits a lot and work, then that is true. But if that's true 6 days a week and the seventh day you're riding a bike all day or playing volleyball or running around or skiing, you're definitely going to need to eat more. So
Hmm.
eat more. And that's, you could eat like more fat, you could eat more protein. You're going to need to eat more carbs to get enough like quick energy. But if you eat it in a balanced way, you're not going to feel like crap afterwards or the next day. So does
Right.
that
Yeah.
help? Me answering some of your questions or helping you? Because
Yeah. Okay. Last one about the food. What about bean? Any kind of beans?
yeah, absolutely. I always have people count beans as the carbohydrate when they're first
Hmm.
focusing on their health, because they are a carbohydrate and they're also a protein, but they're 2-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein in a bean. So it's really, if you count it as a carbohydrate at your meal, then you're getting an added benefit of protein. So if on your plate you have your palm of protein, you have a fist of carbs, so let's say that was beans, you're just getting more protein than you think. And then the rest of your plate is vegetables. And then you have pink salt and a good source of oil. Now
Hmm.
your meal is more balanced.
Okay.
But if you're having beans and then you're having rice and a protein and a vegetable, then you're just getting a little more carbs, which might be okay sometimes, but to kind of give generic advice right now, I'm going to say I don't really advise that unless you take your fist and you make half of it beans or 3/4 and just a little bit of it rice.
Okay.
You probably, whatever questions you have, other people have. So I think that it's helpful to talk about this. And blood sugar, when people work on their blood sugar, it takes about 2 weeks to get it into balance. And I have had over the last 30 years, dozens of people told me it changed their life to understand to how to balance their blood sugar and how to
That's
read.
what I need to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So um, did you get my book recently? I feel like someone said you.
No, I didn't get, no, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I published it in the year 2000. It's quite old
Okay.
in terms of I mean, it's not old school, but there's so much more organic and so much more like gluten-free and raw food available. But the concepts that are in the first 5 chapters to understand about your body and blood sugar and carbs is all exactly the same as if I would
Hmm.
teach you today. It's just that I could add in like 500 new products that are packaged, because the concept of that was 5-minute meals. And in order to do 5-minute meals, or even the way I cook is like, I don't cook like a gourmet chef because I don't like most of those recipes. And I don't want to spend that kind of time in the kitchen. I'm helping people all day long. Like if I had a chef, I would certainly have them make these long, extravagant,
Hmm.
organic, healthy things for me. But we eat like 2 to 3 different kinds of vegetables every night. And sometimes it's a salad, sometimes it's a cooked thing. And I don't really make protein foods at home. I used to, but my son just doesn't care about them. So we don't do
Mhm.
animal food. We eat it when we go out to eat. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't add like cheeses and fake things and heavy things to my dishes because it's just me and my one teenage son, and we make buckwheat, we make rice. The other day we made couscous, like real couscous, like large ones,
Mhm.
not that, that big. And
Yeah. How about
buckwheat,
farro?
yeah, buckwheat is not a wheat. I
Mhm.
don't know why I haven't looked up to see why they called it that, but it's a grain. And if you buy the real buckwheat,
Mhm.
it's like more B vitamins that you're getting from there. Quinoa,
Oh, okay.
sometimes, yeah. So buckwheat has got a ton of nutrition in it. Eden, Eden is the only brand that I have found in the last few years that actually makes it. So we usually buy like
Okay.
5 or 10 packages at a time because they're hard to find around here. They told me the other day that they sell them at Whole Foods, but I haven't seen them. But you can look there.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I'll make it with like instead of just water. I make everything mostly with coconut oil these days because we sell it and it's clean and you can boil it to a high temperature and not make your food rancid or oxidized. We don't want oxidizing your food so if you boil most oils, then it causes oxidation. And I think most people know the word antioxidant by now. We're trying to have more antioxidant,
Mhm.
not more oxidants. So we don't want to boil olive oil or other oils. But you can really cook coconut oil to a higher temperature. And
Okay.
so but you can sometimes I use like oh my gosh, what's it called? Bone broth. Sometimes I'll use bone broth instead of just water, or I'll use a combination of water and bone broth.
Mhm.
And I also make a non-tea most days. I make like a big pot of it. It's the leaves from fruit trees. So if you go, especially this time of year, there's a lot of trees that are starting to sprout leaves, and you grab the leaves and you put them in a big pot and simmer it for a few hours. It turns into this like antioxidant tea that is out of this world and makes you feel
Mhm.
great. I do it in the crock pot. So I did some today and I just put it on for 4 hours and let it sit. And then for the next 2 days, we'll have this fresh tea. So you can do it I have a lemon, lime, grapefruit, mulberry, and passion flower. So I put the leaves of those in there and apple, and however
Mhm.
it tastes that day. But you can use that. So you can use your own concoctions instead of just water. If you want to make it, you could put turmeric in or cumin in the water and make your buckwheat or rice different flavored. So
Okay.
be creative rather than having a million ingredients and getting super fancy. Real fresh food tastes great anyway. Just
Mhm.
have your nuts and seeds that you keep in your house raw and sprouted whenever possible. Have your couple of oils, always have vegetables in the house. Um, I do farm fresh to you produce delivery so that I always have produce coming like that day, like fresh.
Mhm.
They pick it and bring it within 24 hours. And I can modify my order each week when I get the email. And then I go to farmers markets and stores, so I don't stock a ton of fresh food because I like to eat it when it's the freshest, because that's when you get
Mhm.
the most nutrition. And I'm trying to think of other packaged things. There's a cereal called Purely Elizabeth that my son absolutely loves. And to me, it's like a devilish candy, but it's like sprouted cacao with reishi mushrooms and pink salt, and it's a cereal.
Oh,
So
that sounds nice.
yeah, Purely Elizabeth, that's the chocolate flavor. And then Paleo Nola is another one that we travel with. That is like a non-grain granola. It's also pretty good,
Mhm.
delicious. So I'll sprinkle those. I do the Kite Hill and the So Delicious yogurts, so either the almond or the coconut yogurt. And I'll throw in, I think we
Mhm.
have the video on either Instagram or TikTok or both, but I take the yogurt, I dump it in a bowl, I throw in blueberries or raspberries or blackberries or all three, chia seeds, goji berries, and then I top it with our strawberry banana oil or the chocolate mint oil, depending on where I'm at of the
Mhm.
month. If I'm near my female cycle, I do the chocolate mint, or sometimes I just do the chocolate because so that because it tastes great. So that's like to me an ice cream
Hmm.
sundae, but it's all healthy, but every one of those is packaged. So to help,
Okay.
none of the only thing that's not packaged in that is the berries that are fresh. So,
Right.
but I don't eat like packaged food that we ate as kids, and I don't go to any of the traditional supermarkets. I
Hmm.
do go sometimes just to see and go, holy cow, I can't believe people still eat these things. Like, I
Right. Yeah.
don't understand that people still want to shop there and feed that to their children, because whatever the General Mills or Kellogg's cereal was when I was a kid, it's 10 times more polluted today, maybe a
Yeah,
100.
I know.
So and I just ran, we had a little mold in the garage. So I just did a environmental, glyphosate, and mold test on my child to see. I knew I wouldn't have any because I do mud therapy often, and mud pulls all those toxins out of you.
Hmm.
And I didn't have any symptoms, but
Right.
a teenager and hard to control. So I have to, and he doesn't mud as much or want to. So I ran the panels on
Hmm.
him. His glyphosate is fairly high. He's about 75% he's with 75% of the population. So I would call that high. I would like to see him lower.
Hmm.
And he also had off the chart, incredibly high plastic toxicity. So where do you get that
Oh,
from?
wow.
You get that, and also he had some MTBE and one other thing. So all packaging materials is what he had in his body, like really high levels
Hmm.
of packaging materials. So either he's not doing a good job detoxifying, or he's having overexposure to that. And he
Hmm.
eats things that I wouldn't eat because he's starving because he eats like 5 times as much food as me. And because he's a kid, so he's with his friends, so they eat candy and stuff. And, but where do you get that stuff from when you're eating, like he eats 90% of his food organic and clean and healthy and vegetables, way more than the average kid. So if his levels were there, what do you think all the other kids have? And
Wow.
again, we're
Yeah.
in LA, the most polluted city, I think, in the United States.
Yeah.
So, you know, aside from Japan, I think, in the world. But yeah,
Right.
so
Mhm.
we're really careful to not drink water out of a plastic bottle. If it was sitting in the sun for 2 minutes, I consider it toxic and I suggest throwing it out,
Mhm.
because then you're drinking plastic in your water. We don't use a microwave. We barely use any plastic containers, and we don't really order in or take out. But we actually did
Mhm.
twice recently, and the place that I ordered from went from using a more styrofoamish thing to a plastic. And so I told them I will not be ordering from them again because
Mhm.
I don't do hot foods or drinks in plastic.
Okay.
But, so here's a almost 17-year-old who eats pretty healthy, consider like way more healthy, and has ever since he was in the womb. And then the average kid, he eats probably like 100 times healthier than anyone he knows. And he still had those three things in his body.
Oh, wow.
They gave me Pitocin to try to hurry up the birth. So is it that? I
Mhm.
don't know. Did that overload his detox system and he's never detoxed well ever since? So this is, to be continued for me. I'll be evaluating those things on him. Why does he have this in his body? But all of those are carcinogens. So I will definitely be getting them out of his body. But
Yeah.
to answer your questions again about packaged things and, convenience, you got to just be careful with all of
Mhm.
the things. And I see all the time people's water bottle in their dish in their car. As soon as the sun hits it, you are drinking. I would not drink, you're drinking plastic. I would not drink that water.
Right. Yeah. All right. And that just a lot quick question because I my iodine was low when I was for my thyroid,
Okay.
and I'm taking the stuff that you told me. What is a good way to and I do eat healthy. So what is a good way to boost my metabolism to get it back to jumpstart it? I don't know. Is that possible?
Was it iodine or iron?
Iodine. My
Um,
my selenium was on a borderline low, and then my iodine was low, deficient.
um, so you're asking to boost your metabolism, what to,
Yeah, just like how do I mean I eat good, and I feel like still not my metabolism still is not like moving. I don't know.
Well, a couple of things. Coconut oil supposedly increases the metabolism by 33%. So another reason why I use it, but to make sure
Okay.
it's in a dark container, if you buy ours, you're fine, but otherwise make sure it's in a dark container and organic and third party
Mhm.
tested. And having the Brazil nuts is helpful. But if I again could screen share, and we might have done this already in one of your private sessions, but if you look at what affects and what blocks your metabolism and your thyroid, it's stress really in a nutshell. So even the thing I just described with my child, that's considered stress to his body. So if it's not something you're doing right now, then it's old stuff you're trying to heal and repair. And
Mhm.
infections, toxicities, nutrient deficiencies all count as stress, and they all block the thyroid from working correctly. So if you set an alarm and you jump when it goes off, that already tells me your adrenals are off. So there's glands in the head, there's 5 glands in the head. And if you don't get 5 hours of head pillow contact every night, then your glands don't regenerate. So if you sleep for 4 hours and get up to pee and then go back down and sleep for 4 more hours, you still didn't get the full regeneration. So you need to
Okay.
sit down for 5 hours. And remember that we never wake up to pee because you're this way, and you could hold 10 times more fluid this way than you can this way. This way, there's
Mhm.
pressure on the bladder. This way, there's not. So you're waking up. If you wake up, you're waking up because there's stress in an organ or a gland. And so all the other stuff we said about balancing out the blood sugar and
Mhm.
eating at the right times and getting your blood sugar to be balanced is going to help your metabolism, because when your blood sugar is more balanced, your body's going to burn stored fat to make energy. And that's what you're
Okay.
looking for. So if you have all the things in place that we've talked about, or that you know to be true from research or some of our other meetings, then it's really about clearing out old infections and trauma sites and things I call interference fields. And we've talked about the mud therapy for you in
Mhm.
particular. So that would be your
I
next
have it,
step.
but I didn't use it yet. I want to try it.
Yeah. So, well, spring is in the air. And so you have more time to do it, because we don't do it after the sun goes down, because someone told me we don't do it after sundown because we want to make sure you sleep. And so I was on the phone with a friend the other day and she's like, "Ooh, I have time to mud tonight. Where should I mud?" And I said, "Don't do it at nighttime." And she's like, "Well, if I
Mm.
was going to do it, where should I?" And then the next day we spoke and she's like, "Well, we were in just conversation. She said, I didn't really sleep great last night." And then she ended up saying she mudded. And I was like,
Oh.
ding, ding, ding. Like
Uh-huh.
if you want to sleep, and also after you mud, you want to sleep well because you want to rest and repair. Like if we mud to unblock a traffic jam or an old trauma or to pull toxicity out of your shoulder, you want to go to sleep to rest and repair. You don't want to have erratic sleep, because then you're just going to feel worse on every level, and then you're not getting the full
Mhm.
benefits of the mud. So do it before sundown, soak, get some fresh air for 7 to 10 minutes, and then you'll have the full. That's like the whole package deal with the mudding. So spring is in the air, so you'll have a little more time to do that now. And
Mhm.
we can run more of the, your lab test that you're referring to was more of a thyroid panel. We can look at a functional panel to see, are you detoxifying? Is your body methylating? Are your mitochondria working correctly? Which nutrients are you deficient in? So those are other types of tests that give us the why.
Okay.
The test you did is just the what, but most of the time the functional tests give us why, and then we can treat them that way. And we can do more testing with the O-ring and stuff, but some people really like the hard
Mhm.
data, and you and I work remote, so sometimes it is really helpful to get the lab test. When I see
Mhm.
people, like, I just ran over $1,000 worth of lab work on my child because I just wanted the data, because he's hard to pin down. He's got school and work and this and that. And like, I'm like, we need to evaluate you to see what's going on in your body. So I just spent over $1,000. I think it was like $1,500 on lab tests for him. And when we go on our vacation, I'll
Mhm.
mud him and all of his lab tests will be void, because I will change his body in an hour. We'll use the laser,
Mhm.
which reprograms your cells, and then we'll mud him. He'll actually have time. He's in his hardest year at school, so he doesn't have as much. And then when we do that work, all your lab test is like void already because we literally reprogram your body. And so, but it tells us, the lab test tells us, what do we need to work on? Oh, you're not methylating, your mitochondria are poor. I have a woman I'm working with that is in her low 40s, and her main issue was thyroid, and she just didn't feel good. And she already said from when she met me, she was like a 0 on a scale of 1 to 10 or a 1. And now she feels like a 9 most of the time in terms of 10 being
Wow.
amazing. And we barely did anything. Like she's super busy. She's, more in the celebrity world. And so she kind of just shows up and does like minimal on her own. And she went
Mhm.
from 0 to 9, like in 4 or 5 visits, with a couple of mud packs, a lot of laser, a couple of little exercise things I had her do, and just tweaking her supplement program, getting her on the right nutrients. And so
Mhm.
with very little work, she went from a 0 to a 9, so much that she's like blown me off for the past 2 months. And she's like, I'll see you in May. But we got, in the time I haven't seen her, I got
Mhm.
her lab test back, and 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, she has 3 9 readings. Her mitochondria,
Wow.
her methylation, and something else. So 3 of those things are 9, terrible, and she feels fantastic. So now I told her that let's just get her a new supplement regimen, and we make her own little custom packets. I pick like 5 or 8 nutrients and we pack them up for her because
Mhm.
that's her life and that's how it works for her. Um, when we don't see her, at least she takes supplements. So whatever anyone can do is better than nothing. And
Mhm.
being on the right nutrients is everything. And then doing the
Right.
treatments. So I think you're on the right nutrients. For you, it's the other stuff. It's, check out your home. Is there any towers nearby? Do you need to do any Vastu to your home? But also you're like, and do we need to mud? But you're on the path now. So we just need to, the lab work is indicative of where you were probably 3 weeks before you got the results. So you've already moved
Mhm.
past that since then, so just staying on
Right.
course and just now doing like the little tweaks.
Mhm.
And that's
Okay.
true for everybody.
Mhm.
Does that help? Any other questions
Sounds,
before we
yeah.
call it a night or a day? Or I'm starting to get attacked by
Yeah, that's great.
the sun goes down.
Yeah, it was
Well,
yeah, I like listening to you. I like learning things, so that's
Well,
great.
that is exactly why I created this program, because people will they won't leave the clinic. They'll like stay forever. And I'm like, I have someone else next. And they're like, but I
Right, yeah.
listen to you talk all day and learn. So that's
Mhm.
exactly why I created this program. And I think you're like our official first member that, we have 90 members, I was saying at the beginning of the call, but you're still the only one
Mhm.
that has shown up on the call so far twice today. So thank you for
Oh,
being,
wow.
it makes it a little more exciting than talking to myself in a screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And log into the area, your health club area on the website, and there's some more videos and things in there. And just keep learning,
Mhm.
because you're in charge of your health. And, I was listening to a lecture from a woman who was discovered to have stage 5 breast cancer, and she's still alive and she's better than ever. And she said her words were,
Mhm.
get the doctor out of the driver's seat and move him into the back, and you take the driver's seat. And that's the truth,
Mhm.
because they only know what they know, and they
Right.
don't know every topic. And I had to work in the
I
kitchen
know.
of a hospital for part of my schooling. And the doctors do not eat well, I can assure you of that. They eat like
Mhm.
sausage and fatty stuff like it's going out of style, and they play golf and they smoke cigarettes. So, I think part of this
Yeah.
Aquarian age shift that we're moving into is we'll have like a new outlook on our medical and health system for sure, because I think we've all
Mhm.
figured out that the medical system is not so trustworthy. So you're
Yeah,
in
I
charge.
exactly. It's
Always
ideal.
make sure you get a copy. I have a 3-ring binder for me and my son, and I keep a track of every single thing so I can go back and compare and look, well, didn't we run that test a couple of years ago? And I like
Mhm.
I don't know if we call it old fashioned paper method, but it's great on the computer, but I like to see all the pages in front of me and
Yeah,
compare.
so do I.
Most of the functional
Yeah.
tests are color, red, yellow, and green. So if you're in the red, you know what that means. If you're in the green, you know what that means. And so, um,
Mhm.
there's there's a limitless number of lab tests we can do from pee, poop, and saliva. And sometimes we do blood as well. So whatever, and most of those you do at home. So, whenever you're ready for like, I want more information about my body, then we run something else.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, that sounds great.
Well,
Okay, well, thank you.
my pleasure. I will see you soon on your own or next time to the Limitless Health Club.
Me and my daughter's in California right now for 2 weeks.
Oh, your daughter's here?
Yeah, she works for Lowe's. She's a industrial engineer and she's doing something out there for her company.
Oh, okay. In
Yeah,
my
so I
neighborhood?
said, I wish I could go with her.
Oh, yeah. Next time.
I'm trying to think where she's at. I'm not sure where she's at actually, which one place now, but she loves it out there. So
I know it's hard to beat. It was like 82 degrees today and amazing out here. It's hard to stay
that's
inside.
nice.
It was nice.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing my class. I was just like texting a friend saying, "Can I use your Wi-Fi and park in your driveway?" And she's like, "Go sit in my backyard." And it's lovely here, but I actually would have been happy in my car watching the
Yeah.
ocean. But anyway,
Yeah.
well, thank you. And
Yeah.
whoever else is watching and tuning in to the Limitless Health Club, make sure, since we talked about it tonight, make sure you pick up some coconut oil. If you use the code JOY, you'll get 20% off of coconut oil. And even I will throw in inflammaside in for that as well. It's a digestive enzyme that's anti-inflammatory. So use
Okay.
JOY and always use your other code to get your 15% off for everything on our website as a member. I don't know what
Okay,
the code
great.
is off the top. I think it's Limitless Health, but if you don't know what it is, just email us and we'll send it to you.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
Have a healthy night. Good talking to
All
you
right.
and everybody else. Thanks for visiting. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.